Whoa, hi? Hello? Okay. This is different. I've harvested 2 sugar lumps while you were away. I was not expecting that. I have no idea what to use sugar lumps on. I know it'll level it up. Temples are making me... Yeah, okay, let's start with the temples. View Pantheon. Drag a spirit onto the slot to assign it. Oh. If a golden cookie is clicked, this spirit is unslotted and all worship swaps will be used up. Let's see. Golden and Wrath Cookie. Effect duration up. Interesting. Selling buildings triggers a buff boosted by how many buildings were sold. Buff boosts clicks by 1% for every building sold for 10 seconds. Huh. Let's see. Some seasonal effects are boosted, but switching seasons is more expensive. All buildings are cheaper. Clicking is more powerful, buildings produce less. Buildings are more productive, but golden stuff shows up less. Milk is more powerful. All golden cookie... Huh. Effect is only active when your total amount of buildings ends with 0. Huh. Well, I don't actually know if any of those are good. So I'm going to assume maybe. Let's level up the wizard tower. View Grimoire. Click to refill 100 units of your magic meter for a sugar lump. Okay. This is your magic meter. Each spell costs magic to use. Your maximum amount of magic depends on your amount of wizard towers and their magic. And their level. Magic refills over time. The lower your magic meter, the slower it refills. Okay. Looks like I'm gonna need more of these. Cast a random spell at half the magic cost, with twice the chance of it backfiring. I don't know if I really need any of these. Maybe I do. Okay, let's take a look. Wizard towers being twice as efficient sounds pretty good to me, actually. The priestess grandmas might also be good. Oh, we can get both of them. Okay, there we go. Now we're in the money. Maybe? I don't know. I don't know how big of an upgrade that was. Oh, wow. Okay. Also boosting temples. So that grandma bonus actually netted us just an extra 10% of my total CPS. Well, that's worth it. I'm gonna try and get factory up to 50. They're not really worth it right now. What I should probably do is go up for, like, double thick glasses and a couple other things. Okay, so, anyway, we're, couple minutes into the cookie cast, and I had to do a little bit of being confused. But now that I've done basic management, and I kind of know what's what, let's get into the topic of today. Now, you've probably noticed the title of this one called Boycotting Video Games. And this is something I think I need to actually sit down and do like more notes on and really think through and actually do a full video essay on. So you'll probably see this topic pop up again sometime in the future. Maybe not the near future. This is a bit of a... Would I call it a heavy topic? It is a heavy topic of a sort, and I've lost my clicker script. That's unfortunate. It has just disappeared. I think I know why. I'll find it. I think it is just gone. Oh, no, there it is. That's weird. Okay, well, I'll just turn it on. Anyway, so this is kind of topical because I added a new game and game studio to my, my boycott list yesterday. So for any of you guys that have been on the internet paying attention to drama and so on and so forth, you know, every once in a while there's a developer that does something that is heinous that you just kind of can't ignore. And maybe some of you guys watching this just do not care. maybe it truly does not matter to you, you know, who the developers are, who the writer of the book is, who the director of the movie is, who the, you know, what the musician does on their own time. That stuff doesn't matter to you. You're just interested in the end result. And the answer is, I guess my take on that matter is very much like, I think I can't do that. I'm way too invested in the media that I consume to ever have the interest in just kind of sweeping that sort of thing under the rug, to just say like, yeah, I'm not actually, you know, I'm not going to, it's not that I'm not going to think about it, but, you know, I'm just going to ignore this. This has no effect on me. The answer is it does. You know, how many of you guys have grown up with something that you feel very loyal to, and, you know, you play every sequel. Oh, cookie, and I need to turn the auto clicker off, and there we go. Cookie production times 10 for a while. Perfect. But, you know, for me at least, there's a number of things, games, shows, media franchises, and so on and so forth, that I look to very specifically as, like, things that influenced me and made me what I consider to be a better person. Easiest example I can think of would be, like, I don't know, the Redwall series. Very much kind of heavy-handed with the whole thoughts of right and wrong and justice and taking care of people and being kind and a bunch of other things. And same thing with Terry Pratchett. Like, Redwall and Discworld, I think, are the two series that were most influential on me thinking about stuff and people. And, you know, maybe Discworld was a little bit surface level at some things, others it was a lot more, like, into it. But there's a lot of humorous commentary on life. And I picked both of these because the authors are dead. Which, I mean, yes, is tragic, is sad. It's not exactly the kind of thing that it's like, yay, celebrate the, you know, the death of an author or something like that. But at this point, their opinions are static. That they have, they will never change their mind on something. And you can often see this is kind of pointed to with authors like, well, I mean, easy example would be H.P. Lovecraft. People absolutely go bananas for Lovecraftian horrors nowadays. But did you know the guy was like a terrible, horrible, awful racist? Maybe, probably, actually. I'm sure it's not that uncommon of knowledge. But, let's see, do we want to just get a wizard tower? No, we should get 2 temples, is the real answer. And, you know, I'm assuming it's kind of common knowledge at this point, but the guy was, like, pretty heinous with some of his beliefs. And, you know, the question is, can you look past that when you read H.P. Lovecraft? And the answer is, like, you kind of have to. You know, the older a person is, or the older the source of the media is, of course, the more problematic their opinions are going to be. That's just how it is. But I find, I find that still kind of taints it a little bit. So, yeah, ever since I found out that Lovecraft was kind of a horrible racist, it's like, yeah, you know what, I'll read other stuff. I'll still probably, you know, play Lovecraftian horror video games, but I don't think I'm going to read his books. Now, obviously, by me tacitly boycotting Lovecraft stuff, it doesn't help or hurt him in any way. He's dead. He doesn't care, and all of his stuff is public domain, so it doesn't even matter. And so with that one, it's kind of easy to just hand wave of like, yeah, sure, his legacy continues on, but as long as people recognize his faults and kind of point out why these are problematic, it kind of doesn't matter anymore. It's a different thing entirely when it is someone that is alive currently and profiting off of it. So an easy example that I can start off with that isn't, I'm going to say, hopefully not terribly controversial. Recently, Games Workshop, the people that make the Warhammer games, shut down a number of YouTube channels that were doing like fan animations for Warhammer. Obviously, I don't know too much about the deal, the details of like what happened there. But suffice to say, like, that's pretty heavy-handed to do to anyone. And so I kind of lost a lot of interest in Warhammer 40k as a result. You know, why support a company that's going to, I'm going to say, demolish some of the most ardent supporters, just to, you know, maybe snag a couple extra views on a web serial or a show or something that they're running. Like, what's the point of supporting a company that does that? I have no interest. And so it's like, yeah, sure, there are some banger 40k games, but there's also like a gazillion other games and media franchises that are less problematic and more reliable and respect their fans. And especially as a creator, you know, I kind of have to have that solidarity there, because what if they just decided to nuke every single Let's Play video? I'd be in trouble. So to some degree, like, on a more personal and selfish level, I have to say, like, yeah, this is problematic. And if a developer or like a media franchise owner has exhibited behaviors like that in the past, I have to say, like, no, I will never touch anything that they do, because it's a risk. It's a risk to me, but even then, it's a moral thing that, like, I do not want to support a company that acts that way. Another easy example would be Fez. For those of you that don't know, Fez is it's a puzzle platformer made by Phil Fish. Probably one of those, like, early on legendary developers that a lot of people point at as kind of controversial, but, like, made great games. And so Fez was this game that I think had been rumbled about for quite some time. And a lot of people, like, knew what Fez was, and knew Fez was, like, going to be this really cool game, and when it came out, it really was that good. And this is, like, early days of indie gaming. It was one of the most hyped up indie games of all time at the time, and had quite a cult following before and after release. And I played it, but I never really thought of doing a recording on it because it had too many secrets and it was kind of hard to commentate over. I recorded an episode, but I don't think I ever put it up. Because after a certain point, Phil Fish on Twitter started yelling about how streamers and YouTubers need to pay him a licensing fee to stream Fez. You know, they need to pay him a cut of their ad rev, or, you know, a flat sum or something like that. And he was quite mad, and I'm not going to say, like, derisive to the idea of content creators existing or even being symbiotic with game development, but, you know, his opinion was very much anti what I do. And so it's not uncommon that I actually have people ask me, like, hey, are you going to play Fez at some point? And I just have to say, no, I'm not, actually. You know, I on a self-preservation level, like, if he ever decided to go mental, start trying to take down LPs, you know, I would potentially be in the crosshairs. There we go. And even just beyond that, you know, that's a developer that does not appreciate me. You know, what I could do for him as a developer, and, you know, just why help promote somebody that resents my existence? Had the same experience with Journey to the Savage Planet. The developer, I think it was the creative director. He's always been kind of problematic. He was the guy that specifically said that when he was working at Ubisoft, that they weren't going to make a female main character, like an alternative female main character, because they would have had to redo all the animations and a bunch of other things. But it came off as kind of, like, smarmy and sexist at the same time, and a lot of people, like, quoted him for why Ubisoft was problematic at the time. And what do you know, he goes off to found a studio, continues to say weird, problematic things, hires generally only white men, and just, like, a bunch of other stuff. And I realize, like, some of these are not controversial for some people. For others, it's actually pretty important. I think diversity is quite important, just in terms of, you know, multiple perspectives are very valuable, especially when you're making a game. And, you know, why not? That's almost a completely different thing. But so he started really outing himself as this rather close-minded person on Twitter. Was it the beginning of this year? Or was it last year? I think it was this year, but there was a Journey to the Savage Planet DLC that was kind of announced and promoted, and I was like, I literally had it on my schedule when he started yelling about how specifically streamers needed to pay like steep licensing fees to even stream games. You know, he just starts yelling about this, and I just struck it from my schedule. I'm not going to promote a game by a person that thinks that I need to pay him excessive amounts of money to be able to promote his game. Which is interesting because specifically, like, they had been trying very hard to get me to cover their game at PAX. Like, I did an interview with him and some other things. Interview? It was like a live demo, not an interview. Shipment? How big is that? That's big! It's actually not as big as I was expecting it would be, but it's still pretty big. Anyway, so it was kind of weirdly hypocritical and kind of frustrating to see him, you know, expressing these opinions, because it's just like, oh, so you hate me, yet you were the one trying to get me to promote your game. I get it now. I know when I'm not welcome, and yeah, I've never looked back. It's a shame, because it was kind of a fun game, but, like, screw that. I got a gazillion other co-op games to play instead that have, frankly, better endings and humor. Gosh, what's another one? I'm just gonna go down the list of games that I've boycotted, or studios that I've boycotted. Another one was the Hero Siege game. The developer went on a very long rant about how he was going to make it his life's mission to remove all immigrants from his country, which is just like, I mean, I can understand some level of friction based on, you know, refugee immigrants wherever you live, but at the same time, to go full blank slate and just start, like, it was a long thing, and it was pretty bad. And I was just like, you know what? No, I don't need to support somebody like that. And maybe he has a point to some people, but he doesn't to me. I don't sympathize that well, and I find most of these people that go on these long, angry rants have a chip on their shoulder in a way that they should really self-examine and sit down and be like, am I actually a good person here? What was another one? Oh, right, Breath Edge. I mean, that one I actually wanted to do a video on to some degree. Oh, wow, those banks are actually worth a fair bit of money. But Breath Edge was a game that I specifically covered for, like, when it first hit early access. Then I came back for another series after a couple of patches, but that never went up. And then it went 1.0, and I started streaming it, and I came across, oh shoot, I don't remember what it was originally, but effectively I came across, it was like a game cartridge, and it featured a overweight, gender-bent Lara Croft. I don't remember the name, but the joke was very much like a rather sexist dig, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, that's kind of shitty. You know, I'll just look the other way for now, but, like, that's not great humor. And, like, the whole time in the game, you have, like, a character that is talking to you that is just a pair of tits for their, like, profile picture. So it's like, you could kind of tell that there were some sexist overtones. It was pretty blatant, but I was willing to overlook it because, you know, fun game is funny. I like survival games. And then eventually, yeah, I come across the Tomb Raider thing, which I found out later was originally called Tomb R-A-P-E-R, and it's, I can't say it just because, you know, demonetization, maybe. But it's like, finding out that that was the original joke was just like, oh gosh, you know, no matter what you switch it away from, that was your original intent. And I gotta judge, like, I judged them a little bit for it. And then I came across a poster that was making fun of, LGBTQ and minorities and just, like, a bunch of other things all at once, calling them hypocrites. And it was just like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm done with this game. And apparently they had a bunch of other, like, really racy and super sexist jokes thrown in either in the dialogue or just in the background. And it's just like, screw this game. I never want to play it. I never want to support it because, you know, it's punching down. It's all humor that is punching down. That's not funny. I know why people, I know why people can look at that kind of humor and say, oh yeah, that is funny. But in my mind, anybody that thinks that punching down, you know, in humor is funny is usually a weak person, that more gets their kicks out of, you know, pushing other people down rather than uplifting and finding, you know, humor in better, more wholesome things. But yeah, so that was a game that I specifically, yeah, just threw in the bin. I think I did like 4 episodes, and then I was like, nope, never mind, not again. And it was fine, because the game wasn't actually even that good. It was okay, but Subnautica was better. That's the next one. Oh, Stardock. Stardock specifically. And admittedly, this one could go either way because I don't know all the details, but effectively, one of their employees had sued for, like, workplace harassment and, like, a hostile workplace and gender discrimination, a couple other things. But effectively, she had sued Stardock and specifically the CEO for just being an awful person while she was working there. And lost. She actually lost the court case, had to write an apology letter, and maybe pay some money, I don't entirely remember. And, you know, ultimately, I don't know the details of the court case, but in the aftermath, the dude would gloat about it online, and specifically had, like, a framed picture of her apology letter in his office. And once again, like, I don't know the true details behind it, and I don't really care to find out. But anybody that thinks that sort of thing is kind of acceptable instantly kind of loses my support. Because it's just like, there's being happy that you know, won a court case or whatever. It's another thing entirely to gloat on that level. Because when you gloat on that level, you don't even care about, you know, that you're free of consequences of your actions, or, you know, justice was done. When you frame it like that, that means that you're gloating because you won. And I feel like that's kind of the wrong way of thinking about anything. Easy example would be like, I mean, how many of you guys played Smash Brothers as a kid? And, you know, maybe you had a friend that was, like, really good at it. And whenever they'd win, they'd kind of rub your face in it. I only had a couple of friends that were like that, and I almost never played with them. But I know one guy specifically, he loved winning. He didn't really care about having fun. He wanted to win. And so, I remember specifically Mario Kart. The original one on the N64. Or, not original one, but the one on the N64, that had just come out, and he'd picked it up. And he had been playing battle mode, and so I came over, and I'm like, oh, cool, new game. What is it? And he's like, Mario Kart, here's a controller. Hands me a Mad Catz controller. That's, like, first sign that you're in trouble, and this is going to be an unfair game, is when you're handed the crusty-looking Mad Catz controller. I actually bought a Mad Catz controller for him, so whenever he'd come over, he'd have to play with a really crusty controller. And suffice to say, he didn't come over that much. But I didn't even know how to play. Like, I didn't even know what the controls were. And so while I'm trying to figure out how to even drive the cart, he and his brother would just do drive-bys on me, popping my balloons in the back and then laughing. And it was just like, the word emasculating isn't quite right. I mean, for starters, I was like 12. But it was just infuriating to be a part of that, because there was kind of this feeling of just like, you aren't interested in the competition or the winning aspect of this. All you're interested in is having fun at my expense. And I found that quite distasteful, I guess. And so I think whenever anybody is like that in real life, I instantly am just like, no thank you. Which is tragic, just to go back to the Stardock thing, because, like, I liked a number of their games, but, you know, I don't really want to promote a studio whose lead developer, boss, CEO, whatever, is just that problematic. And, yeah. So, gosh, how far are we on this episode? So, I guess we might as well hop into the last one. I mean, there's a couple others. I mean, there's Blizzard, but do I even need to say anything about why I'm not interested in supporting Blizzard? It's not like they make any games nowadays anyway. I mean, sure, Overwatch 2 might be coming out sometime in the next X number of years in Diablo 4. But, like, I don't care. Grim Dawn came out and just killed my enthusiasm for Diablo. And also Victor Vran, and also Path of Exile, and also Last Eve. There's a lot of them. And so it's kind of easy to just be like, whatever, who cares? And not feel like I'm missing out by boycotting Blizzard. But no, the last one, and the most recent and relevant one, and part of the reason why I kind of put it at the end of the video is maybe to shield myself a little bit, but at this point I think everybody kind of knows who I am and what I stand for with a number of these things. But so the president of Tripwire, the people who made Killing Floor and Maneater, and published Chivalry and like a couple other games, he came out recently as... I really hesitate to use the word pro-life. I think anti-abortion makes more sense. But so he went on a small rant on Twitter yesterday, or longer. I only really read the beginning and saw all that I needed to see. But so for those of you that don't know, in the U.S. and Texas, they recently passed a law that made it so abortions are illegal in the state of Texas, and that you can report and like sue somebody, either the person that is getting the abortion or somebody that is assisting somebody else in getting the abortion, and you can get like $10,000 for it. It's effectively like this weird bounty system that potentially goes across state lines and a lot of other stuff. And you know, I'm not even going to say that there's much of a justification for this. It very much is just this kind of heinous misogynist ruling. And in the US specifically, normally these things go up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says no. You know, that's not legal, precedent says that blah blah blah, and so this law can't actually remain. Unfortunately, this time around, they said, yeah, sure, why not? And you know, said the law can stand. Or at least that they're not going to look at it, which effectively lets it stand. And so you've seen a number of people come out kind of in support of this, being like, yay, you know, abortion's illegal in Texas, maybe it'll be illegal in the rest of the US. The problem is, like, it doesn't actually work that way, and I don't really want to go too far into the details on this. I could, but I feel like that would be a separate thing entirely. But it was, like, it happens no matter what, even if it's illegal or legal. You know, the people that are the most ardent supporters of getting rid of it are actually the people that are most likely to get abortions, and it's just like, ugh. And often it's just kind of driven by men, and it feels gross all around. And really, the true answer to, you know, ending unwanted pregnancies is just better education and access to birth control, but it's not like these people care. But anyway, so the CEO specifically started talking about this very openly, and almost immediately, you know, a lot of people started yelling about it. One of their partner studios that helped them make games kind of on a contract-by-contract basis, they cut ties. And some other stuff. And, you know, a lot of other major industry people were like, yeah, you know, stop following me on Twitter, don't interact with me ever again. And, you know, there's something to be said with, like, standing up for what you believe in. At the same time, I feel like with a lot of these, they're kind of human rights issues, and it just feels kind of gross when it's men doing these things. But so as a result, I uninstalled Maneater. I was gonna play the new DLC. I was actually kind of looking forward to it, but it's like, it's more important for me to stand up for what I believe in, even when me standing up is little more than just not engaging, not doing a thing, and just saying, all right, I really am gonna have to save up for some of these gripes. It really does feel like I'm clawing my way up there. How the heck am I going to get to, how the heck am I going to get to, what, 1 trillion cookies? Oh, you can even see the meter for the 1 trillion cookies, I think. We are a very long way from that. But it's like, it's something to be said, but for standing up for what you believe in, it's another thing entirely to kind of approach it from a bad faith perspective. I feel like that's where a lot of these people come from, that they kind of develop this opinion and they aren't really interested in the nuance of it. It's maybe more the surface level, or I don't even know. It's just one of those where it's like, I can't support somebody that believes in that. That's what it comes down to it. Is that political? I don't know. I'd honestly say a lot of these are more like human rights and moral, but of course, you know, both of those have turned into kind of political things in and of themselves, which I don't like or agree with. It's like how I feel like about climate change. Every once in a while, when I'll start talking about that, somebody will be like, stop being political about it. I'm like, I'm not being political. Climate change is not a political thing. COVID is not a political thing. I don't think human rights is a political thing. It is because, you know, a certain group of people have decided that, yes, they are going to unilaterally place themselves on the opposite side of all of those things. And I guess that makes it political. But in my mind, it's just kind of more important to just say, no. That, you know, these really are just moral issues that I think we as a society have to talk about and tackle. And to some degree stand up for what we believe in. And not just kind of sweep it under the rug because, you know, oh well, you know, looks like J.K. Rowling is kind of weirdly anti-trans. Well, whatever, who cares? I like Harry Potter anyway. It's like, no. I'm not gonna read any more Harry Potter things. I mean, luckily, you know, that series is over and done with. And whatever bonus material that's getting made for Harry Potter is just not at all particularly relevant to me or even that good. But it's kind of one of those where it's like, I saw a movement for a while talking about how maybe it would be okay to just like pretend that she's not the creator or no longer owns Harry Potter, that it's the fan bases now, or for these game developers that, well, it's just the one person on top. What about all of the people that were, you know, that are working for them? You know, boycotting them is going to harm them. And the answer is actually yes, that is true. That technically this could lead to a number of developers potentially being harmed in some way. You know, if I never play another Blizzard game, I'm actively contributing to a number of those developers, you know, being laid off eventually. But honestly, like, they're gonna get laid off anyway. Bobby Kotick is a money-grubbing asshole, so it's kind of like, it's not my responsibility to take care of the employees of a problematic individual, nor is it really my responsibility to swallow my ethical objections to something just because, you know, only the CEO is bad, because it's not always that, you know. I refuse to believe that the problematic people at Blizzard are gone or have been properly punished. I think the ones that will need to be punished will, somewhat legally, but I don't believe that Blizzard will have cleansed itself properly until, I mean, Kotick is gone, plus some other ones. And it's kind of easier for me to just, yeah, cut these off, especially because the indie industry has just gone above and beyond. Not only in terms of, like, making up for so many of these AAA studios, their, I mean, lack of output and quality and innovation, but even just beyond that, so many indie studios are really leading the charge on things that I believe in, and so it's so much easier for me to sit down and say, yeah, I believe in that too, and I'm going to support this game. I should really put together, like, a list at some point. But, like, I don't know, Boyfriend Dungeon. Super progressive game. Really enjoyed that. Same thing with Garden Story. Garden Story especially, because that one was, like, really pushing more of, like, a climate message and also caring for each other and neighbors and some other things. And so, I don't know. I like seeing that. It makes me feel good about myself. And an amount of this truly is, unfortunately, slacktivism. You know, it's not like my small boycotts change the world that drastically. But at the same time, you don't need everybody out there making big actions. If you have just a gazillion people all doing their part, that's just as powerful in some way. I think that's part of the reason why I specifically wanted to use this episode for this topic. Sure, I'm sure I'm gonna get some flack for it, and you know, I realize that this is the kind of thing that actively can hurt a channel, but it's like, I sat on my butt for so long. Temples are twice as efficient. Oh, God. It's probably the most effective. Yeah, that was worth it. Let's get a bunch of wow, those... Okay, I was gonna get a bunch of cursor bonuses, but it didn't really get me. I want to get the milk one, but we'll have to get that on the next episode. For now, I think I've run the course on that topic. It's something that I'd like to talk about again in deeper detail. Talking about why certain developers just are not worth supporting. And kind of why it's important to make these moral stands, even if you're not, like, actively going out and, you know, protesting outside of their house. Because I think that has limited effectiveness in and of itself. I think truly just talking about it openly is one of the more important things that I can do. Oh, shoot, I'm going to need more cursors. I've broken the perfect circle. I am a fool. Oh, well. Anyway, so with all that, I hope you guys enjoyed this slightly more dour episode of the Cookie Cast. I'm going to try and pick something that is a little less grumpy. Because I know the last one was sad, and this one was a little bit more morose. But hopefully next time I'll have something more fun to talk about. And this one was just topical because of the man-eater thing yesterday. And because I know people might be asking why I'm not playing it. Anyway, with that said, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.